All right. Okay, so let me mark you two as present, and we'll go ahead and get this thing moving along. All right. Leah's not here. Shamar's not here. Okay, all right. So we had an assignment due this evening. Asia wasn't present last week. So what we did last week, Miss Rochelle, was each student shared their existing portfolio of artwork with us, and in Mr. McLean's instance, his film work. And so his work's been reviewed, Aaliyah's work's been reviewed, but yours hasn't. Do you have any samples of your work to share with us this evening?
No, I don't.
You don't. Okay. All right. So we'll read your statement, but we won't really have a visual reference to what you're talking about. So, all right. So anyway, we're gonna.
I actually put photos on my statement.
Okay. Well, that wasn't what was requested. So, did you write a statement or did you do an outline?
Oh, I did a outline.
Okay. All right. That was the assignment. So I'm gonna pull these up. Just 1 second. Okay. So put the share screen up. All righty. So let's take a look. Okay. Okay, so this doesn't look like an outline. All right, so
I
we can
did it to make it look like the example that was on the assignment that I had.
uh-huh. Okay, all right. So I make art for black girls and the underappreciated. I choose to make sure that young black girls have something to relate to and that shows their own skin colors and hair textures. I am inspired by mostly I'm inspired mostly by the black girl experience in life. I am also inspired by the illusion of being the underdog. I mainly use acrylic paint and charcoal, but will also use ink and professional grade markers. My main techniques include adding more texture to my paintings and drawings so that my works do not look uniform. These two pieces I created are to shine light on black features like the hair that in business society are considered unprofessional because it is not a white norm. They're, they are also to promote confidence in your own skin. I personally encountered a time where my hair kept me from a great opportunity, and I wanted to shine a light on the discrimination. My art means a lot to my own and many others' personal experiences toward Black women in today's society. I was surprised by my emotions and how connected I feel towards my art. I love how my works challenge my creativity. Okay, so I'm going to zoom this in a little bit so we can get a closer look. Mr. McLean might not be familiar with your work. So, how big is this painting that we're looking at, Asia?
I don't remember size. I think it's like 18 by 20, something like that.
Okay, okay. Let's see if I can get any closer. All right. Sounds like somebody joined us. Who joined us?
Jamal.
Okay, Mr. Hill, you're here. Okay. All righty. And this is the same size, right, Asia?
Correct.
Okay. All righty. So Asia just read her. I just read Asia's statement. Let me see if I can minimize this. There we go. Okay. So did you do the assignment, Mr. Hill?
What was the assignment?
Okay. We're gonna go to Mr. McLean. All right. Let's see. Okay, Mr. McLean. Okay. So last week, Mr. McLean and Aaliyah showed up and he shared his work. Uh, since we have a little bit of time, uh, Mr. McLean, how'd you feel if I played your reel again?
I don't care if you play it.
Okay, all right. So because these two students haven't seen it, so I'm going to take the presentation screen off and I'm going to search for that in my email. So give me one second, folks. Okay, got it. It's going to put the share screen back up. Okay, so this is Mr. McLean's reel. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to read Mr. McLean's artist statement. Okay. My artwork is inspired by some daydreams that I had during the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. I wrote some of these random daydreams, example, having my own cooking show, cartoon, and being in a reboot of Friday. And I looked for ways I could incorporate them into music videos. The result was me making some goofy but introspective work. Cumulus, a film by Mac Infinity. Through countless hours of planning, shooting, and editing the video. Okay, let me see what the question was. Let me see. Let me pull up. I'll pull up the assignment after I go through it. That anything video related takes patience and things aren't always going to go as planned. Avoidance, being goofy as a means to me being anxious and my life being stressful. The crazy scenarios I put myself in while daydreaming. I think my favorite video that is included in this reel is definitely the first video that I released in 2021, the Keep That music video. How I was able to take ideas that I had in my head and turn them into something that is tangible. Okay, so this is his response to the questions. So it looked like you turned something in, Mr. Hill. I'm gonna pull that open. I'm gonna open that up. Jamar,
Yeah.
do you have any examples of your artwork, to share with us? Okay, you didn't have that. Okay, so that was Aaliyah. That
No. What I have is, I mean, I have some. Damn. I have some stuff, but it's on my other phone, so I have to like get into my other phone and get it off there.
Okay, well, what you're going to need to do is between now and next week, you're going to have to put it in some sort of format that's viewable and email it to me. You're going to have to do the same as well, Asia. We're at a point where you all are seniors, so this class isn't really about your new work. It's about examining the works you've made the whole time you've been in college and putting together a actual competitive and opportunity opening portfolio. So, with that in mind, we're going to focus on Mr. McLean, okay, at the moment. So, I think what all of you have to do now is, first of all, you have to, have some work and do the assignment, Mr. Hill. But what Asia and Mr. McLean have done is they've answered the first batch of questions that was the assignment due today, and this is basically the beginning of an outline. So, since we are an academic organization, we're going to make academic style artist statements. So, with that in mind, all of you have to choose three examples of artists who are well known and highly respected within your craft that you can identify some sort of kinship with, meaning uh, like in my case, I can say Melvin Edwards and John Outerbridge, their use of material and their visual language has inspired me to do this, right? So when you have a artist statement, you have to have examples of influences. Okay, so let me pull something up for you all. Uh, Got to pause one more minute. All right, got that page up. So this page we're about to look at is going to be uploaded to the course resources link, and I'm going to show you all how to access that. But this is Art 21. Art 21 is a gigantic artist directory of the top, most highly celebrated visual artists in American history. Each one of these artists listed is exactly the level of artists that we need you to include in your artist statements regarding influences. So, all of you, for your next assignment, you're going to have to go through here and find at least two artists. And there is a link for filmmakers too. So, let me see. Climate change. So it has all of these different themes. So as you look at this wave of themes pass you up, you're going to you're going to press one of the links, and then you're going to learn about it. So let's say your thing is climate crisis. Okay, these are some themes of climate crisis related art themes. All right. Uh, you know, some people say Black American experience, consumer culture, decolonize, race in America, pop culture, routines and rituals, digital landscape, feminism, rules and constraints, sensory sensations, history, uncommon materials, activism, the body. So you're going to look through here for themes. Okay. Then these are the mediums. So we have collage, digital media, ceramic, animation, installation, video. So we have video here. Okay. So on here, you have 118 videos, 78 video artists. So all of these artists, Mr. McLean, are considered to be cutting edge contemporary video artists. So there should be something in here that you could relate to, that you could convert into an influence. So, but the reality is, it's not really important to me that you actually have an influence in here, but this is just the standard for the class. And so in Asia's, okay, narratives, okay, this talks about how their work is made, the studio, being an artist. This is a very, very rich resource, because what you're going to do is you're not going to copy the language that they're using in their statements, but you're going to use it to inform your statements, okay? How they talk about things like race, identity, how they talk about things like daydreaming, and spatial relationships. So this is going to help you figure out and act a scholarly way to demonstrate your work. So, for example, let's see. We're going to pick Rashid Johnson. Okay. So this has a brief bio, and this talks about his work. Rashid Johnson was born in 1977 in Chicago, Illinois. Okay, so when you make your artist statement, one part of it, one paragraph is going to be about you, how you define yourself. So I want you to pay attention to the sequence. Rashid Johnson was born in 1977 in Chicago, Illinois, and lives and works in New York. Johnson, who got his start as a photographer, works across media, including video, sculpture, painting, and installation, using a wide variety of materials to address issues of African American identity and history. So if you're dealing with Black subjects, okay, like as Asia was mentioning, that falls into the category called identity, okay? Invested in the artistic practices of both conceptualism and abstraction. His influences include literary figures such as Ralph Ellison, Zora Neale Hurston, and Richard Wright, as well as artists such as Norman Lewis, Sam Gilliam, and Alma Thomas. Johnson's installations frequently include shea butter and black soap, materials that were present throughout his childhood and that carry a particular significance within Afrocentric communities. I think this is a lot you can use, you can borrow from this, Asia. For Johnson's 2015 Anxious Men exhibition at the Drawing Center, he took a more direct political approach than in the past, while returning to the portraiture that initiated his art practice. So this is one of his videos. This is called Rashid Johnson Keeps His Cool. We're not gonna look at the whole thing.
All right, cool.
I was a student in undergrad at photography with an interest in film. And I'd overheard a conversation amongst a couple of my professors about an exhibition that was going to be opening at a gallery called Martha Schneider. And the title was New Artists, Old Processes. And I felt that I really fit in. So I decided to take a portfolio to the gallery. And I think at this time I was maybe 19 or maybe a sophomore. They weren't interested in looking at work of artists coming off the street. But after a little bit of pleading, she looked at my portfolio, and the next week she gave me a solo show in space. From that solo show, a few works were bought by the Art Institute Chicago and the Whitney Museum.
So you were pretty ballsy.
Well, I think it was naivete more than bald. I think I was just an idiot. I mean, I wouldn't make that decision today. I'm not going to go into a gallery. I'm not going to go into MoMA with a portfolio and say, hey, I'm here with my things. You should look at them.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So so this is like each one of your statements has to have like a personal quote. My blackness has a strong effect on how my work is born and around the conversation that inevitably will happen. But I don't think that it's really the sum of all what my work is. And I think formally, I'm trying to approach art making in a bigger way that is part of the bigger history of art. All right, so that's his commentary. Okay, this is some of his other work. Okay, so he has a Miles Davis piece here, some gold spray paint. So he's an installation artist. Okay, so this piece, Souls of Black Folk 2010, black soap, wax, books, vinyl, brass, shea butter, plants, space rocks, mirrors, etc. Okay, so yeah, so this is a Rashid Johnson. Let me get rid of this. There's a little X. Oh. Okay, so that's an example of one artist. But yeah, so there's a big list. Some of these artists are Black, some of these artists aren't. This artist, Kevin Beasley, is currently doing some work in New Orleans for the Prospect 5 Biennial. Kevin Beasley was, so basically, what you need for your next week's presentation, you're going to need to present an actual artist statement that has 5 paragraphs. Okay, it's going to have a 1-paragraph introduction. In that 1 paragraph, you all need to write this down. You need to have the following elements. You need to have a biographical, in paragraph number 1, which is your introduction. It should include a brief biographical sketch, which means who you are, where you're from, okay, what aspect of your discipline are you going to be discussing? So in Asia's case, she is going to be discussing her paintings, right? Or are you going to be discussing something else?
That's most likely it.
Okay. All right. And so in Mr. McLean's case, he's going to be talking about his videos. So when we look at what Mr. McLean wrote, and I'm going to pull that up, his artist statement. Okay. Well, I'm going to hold up. Okay. So I'm going to pull up his outline. So he says his artwork is inspired by some daydreams that he had during the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. So another way to package that would be during the COVID-19 pandemic, I was inspired while in lockdown or whatever. Like what were the conditions that spawned your daydreaming? Was it the effects of the lockdown?
Yeah, I just had a lot of alone time, and for the first time in my life, I just decided to write down like what I was actually daydreaming about and thinking about randomly.
Okay, so pause that. So when you say write down, we're going to change that to document ideas. Okay. During the COVID-19 pandemic, engaged in the first lockdown, for the first time, I had a moment to examine my thoughts. Okay. And then you go from there, right? So we're going to word this in a scholarly way. Okay. So I wrote some of these random daydreams. So instead of saying I wrote some of these random daydreams, you can say my imagination. When another way you can put it is Uh, you envisioned instead of daydreaming. You were envisioning. You were actively envisioning and projecting a reality in your head. Okay, and one of those realities were things such as having your own cooking show, uh, being a character in a cartoon, or designing a cartoon. Which is it?
Both of them.
Okay, so you want to state that, and being in a reboot of Friday. So when you say being in it, do you mean filming in it or starring in it as an actor?
Starring in it. I just sort of used like a part of Friday.
Hold up. Because we're going to go over every single line. Okay, so being in a reboot of Friday, you can say and participating as an actor in a imaginary reboot of the movie Friday. So what I want all of you to understand is you want your statement to not be in a familiar context, because whoever gets it, they may not even be from the country. They might have only been in the country 5 years. They've never seen Friday. You're going to have to explain what Friday is. You're going to have to explain things. Okay. Don't assume anybody knows what you're talking about. All right. And I look for ways I could incorporate them into music videos. So I wrote some of these random daydreams. Okay. So you have a lot of things going on in this one particular answer. You want to incorporate your vision into music videos. Okay. The result was me making some goofy but introspective work. So when you use the word goofy, once again, you're going to have to explain that. What do you mean by goofy?
Like comedic.
Okay, let's use comedic instead. You see, we can't assume that people are going to sympathize with you when they read this. Assume that they're not going to sympathize with you. So every part of this that they can't immediately reference or you don't explain, it's a ding on your armor. Okay, Cumulus, a film by Mac Infinity. What was the question for that?
The title for your work.
Okay, Cumulus, a film by Mac Infinity. Okay, who is Mac Infinity?
That's like my stage name.
Okay, so you're gonna have to explain that Mac Infinity is your creative identity that you use as a handle for your films. You got to explain everything. Okay. Number 3, through countless hours of planning, shooting, editing the video. What was the question for 3?
Here, give me 1 second. Let me pull it up.
I should know what the questions were, but I don't. Okay. Yeah, through countless hours of planning, shooting, editing the video. Okay, so that looks pretty good. You can use that. That sounds good. But I want you to go somewhat into the technical aspects of planning, shooting, and editing the video. What sort of hardware are you using? What software are you using? Because in this, you're not only telling a story of who you are and what your work is, you're also demonstrating proficiency on a professional level with planning, shooting, and editing the video. And I planned it this way using this planning technique. So did you use a planning technique that is commonly known to filmmakers?
Yes, and I have the questions pulled up if you want me to.
Oh, yeah. What's question for number 3?
Number 3 is, how did you create the art?
Okay. All right. So you're going to break down the planning, shooting, and editing from a technical and conceptual basis. So that means for planning, we should have at least 2 sentences on the technical aspects of that in relation to filmmaking and what is known to planning things in filming. Now, in terms of shooting, what type of cameras did you use? What type of, were you working with natural light? Were you working with studio lights? And if so, why? Okay. and editing the video. What programs did you use to edit the video? How much editing did you use? Was there a certain style involved in the editing? Okay, what's number 4?
Number 4 is, what did you learn while creating the art?
Okay, that anything video related takes patience and things aren't always going to go as planned. So what another way you could put that is you know, when making videos, patience is a priority and you have to be open to serendipity. You see, we're trying to step up the language, right? We know you're a great guy and we know what you mean on a layman's terms, but you're making a portfolio for Mr. A or Mrs. B, okay? They're unknown to you. You may never see their faces. They may have never met you personally. They're deciding if they want to meet you personally by the way this document is set up. Okay, what's number 5?
Number 5 is, what were your feelings while creating the art?
Okay, so avoidance. All right. I'm not sure I understand what that means. You felt a sense of avoidance? What do you mean?
Yeah, like I was running away from my problems.
Okay, all right.
Feeling, but
okay, so let's put that instead. Being goofy as a means to me being anxious and my life being stressful. Okay, so I get what you're saying. You're saying so, you know, by portraying a lightheartedness, it masks your anxiety and your personal stress. Is that a good way to reword that?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so I hope you're documenting this stuff, okay? Because when you turn it in, I'm going to edit it anyway. Okay, number 6, what's the question?
What inspired you to create this art?
Okay, the crazy scenarios I put myself in while daydreaming. What you can say is the fantastical universe that I've created within my personal vision. Something to that nature, okay? Because, okay, so let me pull this up, all right? Because this is something a lot of students don't like to do. Let's look up this word goofy. I mean, let's use a thesaurus and let's find a better way of saying goofy. Okay, crazy, dopey, flaky, foolish, stupid, nutty, kooky, idiotic, wacky, weird, daffy, dippy, screwy, empty-headed, dotty, ditzy. Do you like any of those words to describe your professional efforts?
Like they sound like a little unprofessional slightly. Like I like wacky because I feel like that sort of describes it, but all the other ones are like,
it's beneath you, right?
Yeah, unprofessional.
Right. So let's look up the definition of goofy while we're at it.
Goofy.
Ridiculous, silly, wacky, nutty. All right. So think about that, you know, when you make these terms. Okay, let me go back to your assignment. Where the heck is it? Okay, all right. Crazy scenarios. Okay, what's number 7?
Here, I'm sorry. I keep having to click back and forth. What is your favorite part?
Okay, I think my favorite video that is included in this reel is definitely the first video that I released in 2021, to keep that music video. Now, is there a way that someone who doesn't know you or know your work would be able to look at this video reel and identify which one is to keep that music video?
Yeah, so I know we talked about this briefly last class. So what I've decided to do, like, I'm gonna make like a separate reel with just music videos in them, and I'm gonna have like, maybe, you know how like you have like a DVD and they'll have like the director talking over the video, sort of like a voiceover. I've decided that's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna label the videos and stuff that are inside of the reel. So that
Okay, great, great, great. That's a great idea. Okay, number 8, and then we go back to Asia. Number 8.
what surprised you while creating this art?
Okay, how I was able to take ideas that I had in my head and turn them into something that is tangible. Okay, so another way you can say that is the creative process, okay, of filmmaking has allowed me to take my ideas and don't say that I had in my head, because if it's an idea, we already know ideas come from your head, you know. So you were able to take ideas and convert them into tangible videos. Okay. So we want to just edit out the stuff, and don't worry, this happens with everybody. Okay, but very good effort. Thank you very much. So let's pull up Asia's statement, which is pretty good, by the way. You know. Okay, so Asia, I make art for Black girls and the underappreciated. That's a very bold statement. Okay, so would it be fair to say that your category of ideas are identity driven?
Yes, that's true.
Okay, all right. So uh, I make art for Black girls and the underappreciated. So who are you making it for? Black girls, because underappreciated is quite vast. There's some Klansmen who feel underappreciated.
Well, it was mostly more like Black people, but I haven't gotten into drawing males yet. So,
Okay. All right. So just say I make art for Black girls. Period. Boom. All right. And I choose to make sure that young Black girls have something to relate to. So what you can say is I produce artwork with the intention of uh, being relatable to young Black girls. Okay. Now, here's where it gets tricky. You have Black girls in North America, you have Black girls in South America, you have Black girls in Europe, you have Black girls all from the top of the Horn of Africa to South Africa.
I would say that was my point of not putting, because I started by putting African American girls, but then we had the whole conversation in our other class that day about what is African American and everything. So I just, kind of was a blanket statement.
Right. But you know, what you can do is what you can say is, as a Black American woman, it is my intention to reach to the younger generation of Black girls and show their skin colors and hair textures. Okay, so another way of saying that is you seek to present. You're seeking to instead of saying shows, you want to say presents or features. You know what I'm saying? Their own skin colors and hair textures. You can say, let me pull up a statement related to that. Okay, let me pull something up. There's this great exhibition called Hair Stories from the Brooklyn Museum. Okay, and Hair Stories, actually, Scottsdale Museum. This whole thing was about, oh, this is the wrong one. Anyway, I'm gonna find that Hair Stories exhibition. There we go, Hair Stories exhibition. The whole thing was about Black hair, and it was at the Scottsdale Museum. Here we go. Okay. Okay, so Hair Stories dives deep into questions of beauty and belonging. Okay, so this is something you can definitely pull from. In honor of Black History Month, we like to look at blah, blah, blah. This is the accompanying publication in the exhibition, the catalog. Okay, let me get to the point. Among the essays and verses shared in the book are individual stories of the impact of Black hair salons, and barbershops, and their personal, political, and spiritual significance. That's something you can draw from. That says a lot, right? Personal experiences bring an honesty and emotion to their words and draw in readers who may or may not be familiar with the narrative of Black hair. So when we talk about Black hair in stories, there's a narrative associated with it. Authors explore the idea of beauty, who determines what is beautiful, and the resulting impact on self-worth and individuality. From traditional African styles to contemporary coiffures, works examine the links between the past and present and seek to answer the question of what is good or bad hair. In a vivid poem by Kevin Powell, blah, 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 blah. Okay, but you get what I'm saying, right? We got to go a little, we have to expand these ideas, right? Like this is written for anybody to read who is Black or isn't Black, okay? The impact of Black hair salons and barbershops, and their personal, political, and spiritual significance. So when we look back at your statement, oh, that's the one. When we look back at your statement, where is it at? Oh, it's right here. Oh, pardon me, folks. Okay, so we could say, I choose to make sure you have something to relate to within the narrative of Black hair, right? Within the narrative of Blackness, you could say, I choose to make works that inspire young Black girls and are relatable to young Black girls, and it highlights or features their own skin colors and hair textures. I am inspired mostly by the Black girl experience. So another word for experience is narrative, because in that experience, there are multiple stories, right? So inside the Black girl narrative, I'm also inspired by the illusion of being the underdog. That's a very powerful statement. How can we enhance that statement? I mainly use acrylic paint and charcoal, but will also use ink and professional grade markers. My recommendation is only mention the media that you have, produced works in, right? Or that you have next to the statement. My main techniques, instead of saying main, what you can say is through the mechanism of paintings and drawings, I introduce texture and patterns that relate to the Black hair narrative. Okay. Now you talk about so that your works do not look uniform. They actually do look quite uniform, right? This looks like a
I
very,
feel like they look neat, but they don't look uniform.
yeah, this looks very proportional, right? This is a classical sort of representation. So I think the works are more representational. Now, this is a very interesting piece. There's actually a piece at the Ogden Museum that this makes me think of by Katrina Andre. I'm going to show you her piece right quick. We're almost about to run out of time, but I'm going to show you her work right quick because, I mean, it's amazing to me how similar it is. Katrina Andre, Prospect 5. Okay, so yeah, this is her work. She's a printmaker. So let's see if you can see this mirror here. You see that mirror? It's very similar to yours.
I do.
Mm-hmm. Very, very incredible artist. I mean, top flight, really cool too. Okay, so let's see. Oh, goodness. Here we go. Back to this. Okay. These two works are examples. These two pieces are examples of recent works. these works, like I'm editing what you're saying. These recent works, these recent pieces are examples of work that draws from the Black hair narrative, or what narrative would you say these draw from?
I feel like one focuses on hair more, and then the other one works on identity more.
But is it about vanity and beauty?
I think it's more about self-worth.
Okay, okay. Self-worth. So is that acceptance? And if so, by
Yeah.
is that acceptance by non-Black society?
I look at it as yes, with non-Black society, but also like when I say self-worth, it's like having acceptance for yourself due
Oh,
to non-Black society not accepting us, I guess.
okay,
I don't
okay.
know how to
Because
explain that.
what you got to do is you have to identify where you don't feel accepted, okay, and how this work is designed to reach other people that don't feel accepted. But there has to be something that's denying you acceptance. There has to be something that's denying you self-worth. So if it's society at large, there's a way to say that. If it is a specific aspect of society, whether Black society or white society, that's something to mention as well. Like the hair that in business society are considered unprofessional because it is not a white norm. So you could say, uh, for example, um, uh, uh, for example, these hairstyles are not considered, these hairstyles are not accepted in professional settings because it is not a white norm. Another way you could say white norm, or you could say Western beauty aesthetics, which is rooted in white supremacy. You could just go there. You know what I'm saying? So like, is that kind of a way of is that what you meant?
It sounds right.
Okay. They are also to promote confidence in your own skin. So instead of confidence in your own skin, you have to say embrace your identity as a Western Black female. See, because in Africa or in parts of the Caribbean where everybody's Black, that's not necessarily an issue for them. It tends to be those who are in the Western environments that are dealing with the brunt of the discrimination because they're in integrated spaces. I personally encountered a time where my hair kept me from a great opportunity, and I wanted to shine light on the discrimination. So if you're going to have an antidote or a personal experience, you can say, anecdotally, I experienced discrimination in a professional workplace, and it was related to my hairstyling. And then you have to cherry pick that story so it's under a paragraph, because you don't want to commit an entire paragraph to it. My art means a lot to my own and many others' personal experiences towards Black women in today's society. So once again, you want to say, my work draws from the Western Black female narrative. And then you talk about what the issue is, because the Black narrative is massive. But once you apply your ideas as under the umbrella of that narrative, then people can kind of look for what you're talking about under it. Because remember, you're making this for anybody to read, not necessarily just Black people, but anybody to read it. They're not going to necessarily, they may not have ever experienced any of this stuff. They may be perpetrators of this type of discrimination and not even know it. Or they may damn well know it, right? But you have to state it, okay? My art means a lot to my own. I was surprised by my emotions and how connected I feel towards my art. What you can say is it never ceases to amaze me how in sync my emotions are with my artistic output. I love how my works challenge my creativity. What you can say is, I love how my works challenge the viewer. You see what I'm saying? Because how can you challenge your own creativity?
I understand.
Right. So yeah, so that's all we're gonna do for tonight. But what I want everybody to bring for next week, okay? So once again, we need to have 5 paragraphs. So you have your 1 paragraph intro. In that, you're introducing yourself and you're introducing yourself as a filmmaker in Mr. McLean's case and as a painter in Miss Rochelle's case, right? And then you're going to talk about how long you've been on this journey. And then from there, you're going to go to a 3 paragraph body. In those 3 paragraphs, you're going to have 1 paragraph where you talk about yourself, 1 paragraph where you talk about your influences, and 1 paragraph where you talk about the technical aspects of what you're doing. So
Can
we
you
have
say
that.
that again because I'm taking notes?
Okay. So in your 3 paragraph body, the first paragraph, you're talking about yourself. So like in Asia's case, that would be where you could discuss the discrimination you experienced in a workplace. And this can be where you go, Mr. McLean goes deeper into his imaginative visions, right? And the conditions around those visions. The second paragraph is your influences. You have to be inspired by someone. So here's where it gets a little funny. We all have influences. So let's say you have a local influence in your hometown. Let's say you come from a place like Waterproof, Louisiana, population 10,000. You may have been inspired by your high school teacher. That can be the only person like that you mention. The other 2 have to be known. Otherwise, the range of your influences, because other people, if you pick from the list that I'm giving you, those are the people who most people find to be influential. So that creates a bridge between you and others. Oh, wow, I'm influenced by Dawood Bey too. You know, that type of thing. So these big names matter in these types of statements. And then the 5th paragraph is going to be your conclusion, right? So I'm sorry, I skipped the 4th one. So the 4th one is your technical stuff. That's where you discuss specific pieces that are in your portfolio. And like, let's say Asia has 20 paintings. She's going to talk about maybe 4 closely related paintings that represent the entire 20, right? Or Mr. McLean, when he shows us the rap videos, that's where he's going to discuss common themes within the videos, common themes within the technical applications of it. Like Spike Lee is known for these types of imagery in his films, right? Where it's like it's a camera and it's looking up at the individual and they're either walking and they're kind of in this mental space or they're on a bicycle like you were in one of your videos. Do you know what I'm talking about, Mr. McLean? Mr. McLean.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
Right. So,
no, I heard the whole thing. What did you just say?
Yeah, what I just said was, are you familiar with like Spike Lee's movies, for example?
Yeah, of course.
You know, he has this sort of moment in his films where the protagonist is examining some thoughts or ideas, and he does this in every one of his films. It's like a shot of the person. It's looking up at the person. You can they're either on a bike or they're walking. You get a sense that they're moving, and you see aspects of the environment. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, where they're like everything's going on around them, and they're sort of like, it's like an introspective moment. It's almost like they're breaking the 4th wall.
Exactly. So there have to be moments like that in your videos that are very specific to you, or if it's like if it's, let's say it's a Michael Mann film. Are you familiar with the director Michael Mann?
No.
Okay. Why don't you look up this movie called Heat and look up the bank robbery scene, right? His movies have maximum violence in urban settings. And that's a style trait of his. You should see it though. It's mind blowing. You really feel like it's there. You might be in a sweat. You know what I'm saying, when it's over. But anyway, you as a filmmaker, there are going to be certain moments you should look for in everything you make where there's a part of you, the way you see things in spite of the rest of it, right? So yeah, that's what the fourth paragraph is, where you're talking about the technical things that are specific to your way of seeing, your type of vision. And that would be where Asia can talk about the texture and the asymmetry, or the what was that you had in your statement, Asia? You had
I say uniform.
let me see. Yeah, it was interesting the way you worded it. I choose to make currently I inspire most of it. All inspire illusion. Okay, yeah, this part, my main techniques. That's where you can talk about your techniques about adding texture to the paintings, and so they don't look uniform. And that's where you can talk about your style of use of technical stuff. You can say, wow, I saw this woman's hair and blah 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 blah. That's where you can go into what made you put the texture here or not there, right? That's where you go into that. And then you have your conclusion, paragraph number 5. That's where you reiterate bits and pieces of the prior paragraph. So you reinforce parts of your introduction by saying, in conclusion, my work does such and such and such and such, and then this is the last part. After you talk about what your work does, you talk about its effect, your intended effect on viewers. Okay, what do you want the viewer to walk away with? That's a very difficult thing to isolate for some people. For some people, it's like it's easy. Either way, that's what we need. So once again, and I hope you all are writing this down, paragraph number 1, that's the introduction. You're going to talk about who you are, where you're from, how old you are. You're going to talk about what type of work you like to do, right? You're not going to go into detail. And then in paragraph number 2, that's where you're going to talk about who you are, right? And specific things in your life that shaped your vision. Okay, what shaped your vision? Maybe it was you took a class or something, or you didn't take a class, you visited a museum, or maybe there was just a popular kid in the class that could do this or that. Whatever. That's where you discuss that. That's where you can use, certain descriptives, like goofy or silly or lighthearted. You could use that in that second paragraph. But then in your third paragraph, that's where you're going to get back professional again. You're going to be talking about the professional influencers in your life, who they were and what they've done. Like I said, one can be an unknown, but 2 have to be very well known, and preferably come from the list, this list that I gave you all. Yeah, these artists are phenomenal. I strongly recommend, like, as a visual artist, you've got to know at least half these names, okay? Like this woman here, Maria Abramovic, was in the Jay-Z video. She does a lot of very, very, different works, but she's a name that comes up in the conversations around art, okay? Like all these are the top folks. So you got to know who this is. This guy actually showed in our art gallery, William Cordova. He's a filmmaker too. This is our sculpture studio where they filmed this. Do y'all recognize that room? Hello, hello. Yeah, this is the.
Yeah, I recognize it.
Yeah, so this was on Art 21, a national show. So anyway, right. So you got to start to familiarize yourself with these names. They're very. It's kind of like you know, if you're talking football with somebody and you don't know certain names, you say, okay, you're not a legitimate football fan, right? Or you're not a legitimate this or that. How can you be an artist and not know who the top people are in your field? How can you be a filmmaker and not know who the top people are in your field, especially people who are close to your age, right? It is incumbent upon you to examine this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this link for this show, Art 21. All the videos are roughly 20 to 30 minutes. And I'm going to put this in the course resources link. So when you go to the home page, right, you have these links, right? This is the home page. Meet the instructor, course Q&A. You're going to go to course resources. I haven't loaded it up yet, but I'm going to put all the videos and all the articles that I think you all need to know. I'm going to place them here. So between now and Friday, it's going to have the link to the Art 21 series. But yeah, then back to what I was saying, paragraph number 3 is paragraph number 3 is your ideas and your influences. Paragraph number 4 is your technical application of your ideas. Paragraph number 5 is your conclusion. This is who I am. This is what I do, blah, 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 blah. This is what I want viewers to walk away from the experience of seeing my films or seeing my paintings or seeing whatever, right? This is the type of sensations I'm trying to create, all right? And so that's due next Wednesday. That's 100 points. Then after we do that, we're going to do personal bios. That's where you can talk all this great stuff about your young selves, okay, is in your personal biographies. And once again, we want to refer to Art 21 to see how professional artists talk about their biographies. Why? Because there's certain things people are interested in about you, and then there's a lot they don't care about. You know, they don't really want to hear about you getting bullied. They don't want to hear about you beating somebody up at the club unless it influences your work. So your narrative should always go back to your work, okay? Your craft, your practice. That's the only stuff they care about. Because what happens is people look at this stuff, I'm telling you, they look at what you write about yourself, they save it, they chronicle it, they're impacted by it quite deeply, much more than you could ever imagine. People who don't create are super curious about the lives, influences, and techniques of creators. So you're going to give up a little game about how you do what you do. You're going to give up some little kernels of how you do what you do. When you do the personal bio, you're going to talk about all the experiences that led you to this point. Not the stuff that doesn't matter, just the stuff that does matter. Okay? So any questions?
No.
Can you post this recording?
Sure, definitely. Once again, this recording will be in the course resources link too. So you'll be able to pull up the old classes and the accompanying videos and other resources. So Mr. Hill, what you're going to have to bring as well, and Asia's going to have to bring as well, is a complete complete set of all the images of everything you've made up to this point from your first day at Dillard to now. So you're going to send those to me in JPEG formats. And when we start the class, I'm going to share it with you because right now, Mr. McLean doesn't really know what y'all do. He's already put himself out there on the line, but he doesn't really know what y'all do. He can't really fully comment. He's only seen 2 pieces of Asia and nothing but air from Mr. Hill. So,
I got you.
Okay, so we need some work so we can so this class can function and operate the way it's supposed to, the way it's designed to. Yep. So anyway, folks, y'all have a great rest of your day. Think about the stuff we talked about. Within 24 hours, this class and the video in the Art 21 stuff is going to be posted in course resources.
All right.
All right, y'all have a wonderful rest of your night. Take care.
All right, you too.
All right, see you next week.
Mm-hmm.